Warning, big spoilers for Bravely Default 2. Ooh. Alright, so the idea for this video comes from two places. The first is the ever-returning topic I see in Bravely discussion circles of a DLC for Bravely Default 2. A lot of people seem to have expected that one was coming for certain when it was never confirmed or denied in the first place. And since we still have no reason to expect any DLC, I figured it'd be fun to try and write the plotline to one, to show what I think would happen. The second reason is so that people will stop complaining that nothing in this game is explained. This has hit an apex for me the other day when I saw someone complaining that the purple save file overwrite in Chapter 6 is stupid because it was hidden. Like, really? Do you seriously need everything to be spoon-fed to you? My apologies. That's a whole rant for another time. But there is a slight point to it. There are some aspects of the story for Bravely Default 2 that do need more fleshing out, or could be wrapped up more nicely. So, what I've decided to do is essentially make an Epilogue DLC that elaborates on a few more plot points in the game, as well as brings some of the lore that was existing in the background to the foreground. And yeah, this is essentially just fanfic, but we already do custom asterisks here, so it's not that far of a leap. Now then, with that out of the way, hit those like and subscribe buttons, please and thank you. I can wait. Alright, good, let's get to it. After the Nexus's defeat at the Isle of Nothingness, the party returns to Halcyonia to recover and celebrate with various other side characters. During the celebrations, Adele is feeling off. When asked what is wrong, she claims it's nothing, but mentions that now with the world out of harm's way, perhaps the time to mend the rift between man and fairy has come. King Vernon agrees to a meeting with the fairies should they also agree. The party then proceeds to Magmel. In Magmel, the fairies also wish to celebrate the Nexus's destruction, and Lady Esmeralda congratulates the party. Adele informs her of having met Eileen, Queen of Fairies, and her departure from the world for their sake. The topic of a meeting between fairies and humans is brought up, and Esmeralda, with some slight hesitation at first, accepts. During the celebration, Esmeralda makes a comment to Seth that he reminds her of someone she knew a long time ago, but never mentioned it before because he couldn't possibly be the same person, as it was 1,000 years ago. She asks where he heralds from, and he explains that he's from across the sea, making her curious and suspicious. Adele is still behaving oddly, so Elvis gets her to spill. Now, with everything out of the way, she is finally feeling the sadness of having lost her sister Edna, of having to strike her down. We get a flashback to the past, where Edna is telling Adele of the wonders of the human world before she was overtaken by the Nexus's influence. The party and Esmeralda, along with several fairies, make their way to Halcyonia. Before the meeting begins, Adele begins to sadden yet again, thinking of her sister. She decides she wants to go visit the last place that Edna was at, the Crystal's resting place in Musa. Adele runs, or flies, off, and Elvis promises to stick with her, leaving Seth and Gloria to prepare for the conference with Esmeralda. The meeting has gathered people from across Excellent, as this is the first public appearance of fairies in a millennia, including Lonsdale and some Hologratters. Things start off well enough, with King Vernon wanting to thank the Heroes of Light for dealing with the Nexus once and for all. While most of the attendees applaud their efforts, one of the Hologratters interject, asking why the fairies have come out now after all the work has been done, claiming the fairies are simply seeking to bask in unearned glory. When Seth retorts that one such fairy was one of the heroes, the Hologratter replies by asking where they were when the Nexus destroyed their kingdom. Lonsdale explains that the land of Holograd was decimated by the Nexus a millennia ago when it first came into existence, leaving the land cragged and ruined. He goes on to say that had the hero of Holograd not united the various starving nations and formed the original Holograd, then their people would have been struck out from the annals of history. The Hologratters begin to get rowdy, asking why the fairies offered their suffering ancestors no aid in their time of need, and the fairies reply that it was a human who became the Nexus in the first place, as well as others pointing out that it was Holograd who invaded Musa in the first place, eventually resulting in the Nexus's release, on top of their recent actions not being justifiable compared to their ancestors' actions. Esmeralda demands that her people stop and apologizes on behalf of her kind, while also letting it slip that she was the one who unknowingly allowed the Nexus to gain such power and knowledge in the first place. The fighting only worsens. Jumping to Musa, Adele and Elvis are investigating the Crystal's resting place, left open after their hasty retreat last time. Adele is having second thoughts, but Elvis takes her hand and says that they'll do it together. Upon entering the final chamber, Adele finds a frozen Edna, wholly corrupted by the Nexus into a statue. Adele apologizes for what she did to her and how she still loves her. Her grief then turns to rage for a moment, and she begins shouting about how much she hates the Nexus and everything it has ruined, forgetting to pay mind to the Fire Crystal's warning. Adele throws a stone at the statue in blind anger, and a crack develops. Adele and Elvis step back as the Nexus's final failsafe is awakened, a copy of itself within Edna's shell. Black and purple tentacles begin to swirl and flail from the statue, while two monstrous wings of smoke appear behind it. The Nexus lives once more. The major leaders, Lonsdale included, are attempting to calm the situation in Halcyonia down, and the fighting is about to come to a head when the sound of thunder erupts across the land, followed by a chilling cry. Seth and Gloria immediately recognize it as the Nexus and rush outside to find dark clouds swirling over the mountain range. Esmeralda tells the two to hurry, while she and King Vernon prepare in the event that the Nexus escapes from Musa. Seth and Gloria arrive at the Crystal's resting place, only to find Adele and Elvis weak from holding it off. A boss fight then begins here, the Nexus reawakened, with combined abilities from the Nexus's true form and Edna. At the end of the fight, the Nexus will imitate Edna to lower Adele's guard and attempt to kill her, only for Elvis to block and sacrifice himself. Adele holds him in her arms as the dark smoke retreats into the statue, seemingly going quiet for good. When Adele asks why he did it, Elvis tells her not to sweat the details and that she should already know well enough why. Elvis dies as Adele screams, mirroring the first false ending. And then we roll credits. At the main menu, the player will select the save file they just fought the Nexus reawakened on. Upon starting it, however, instead of a visage of the past or of what just occurred, the screen will glitch, and a pixelated, swirling mist of darkness will be visible as the Nexus says, "Not this time." The cutscene will then jump to just where the fight left off, with Elvis dead and Adele mourning him. The three heroes prepare themselves when the darkness begins to return. The whole arena turns black, and as the statue shatters and collapses, a new figure walks out of the feminine shell. A figure who looks identical to Gloria, save for her deep, lavender eyes. The trio are shocked, and Gloria shakily asks who she is. The girl will respond in Gloria's voice, albeit more coldly, that she is Inanna of Musa. Inanna then notices Elvis's book, which Gloria picks up and holds close. Inanna demands that she hands over the book, but Gloria refuses. The giant hands will then appear, and one of them grabs Gloria, beginning to crush the life out of her. Inanna will scoff at Gloria. This scene will continue on and loop forever, unless the player chooses to skip the scene. Gloria will now be safe on the ground, having dropped the librarian asterisk and left its pages wide open. It will cut to Inanna's flabbergasted face. She then turns to Seth and realizes that it's him. The book will glow and light consumes the area. Seth wakes up on a beach, just like at the start of the game. Inanna then comes over and berates him for falling asleep on the beach again, then tells him to hurry because of their carriage that will be leaving soon. Going to an old Halcyonia, Seth and Inanna are sent off to Magmel with warm wishes from the King of Musa, who tells Seth to keep an eye on her. He promises to do so, and the carriage begins to move. On the ride there, Inanna claims she knows why Seth sits on the beach every day, and tells him she's sorry that she can't send him back home, across the sea where he belongs. Seth tells her it's alright, and that he's content here, even if he can never return. He's found a new home here in Excellent, with Inanna. She rests her head on his shoulder, and they sleep as they travel through the night. The memory fades, and the next morning they arrive in Magmel on foot. The fairies of Magmel welcome them inside, and Esmeralda introduces them around the fairy sanctuary. She also states how honored they are to have a member of Musa's royal line in their humble abode. Inanna is greatly appreciative and begins asking many questions, eager to learn. Fade to black. Only Seth's voice and text fill the screen now, as he goes on about, in the days to come, you fell in love with that place. But that love began to rot, and rot led you to obsession. Another scene occurs, where Inanna is desperately scribbling notes in her new book, The Librarian Asterisk, mumbling to herself. Seth approaches to ask her what new things she's learned, but Inanna snaps and begins rambling about how Seth doesn't understand, how no one in the world truly understands, and only she knows the truth. Seth then points out the orange gem on the cover of her book, and she hides it, claiming it's nothing, before pushing him away, demanding solitude as she continues her research. Saddened, Seth walks off. Fade to black. And eventually, the day came that you were gone, and only the Nexus remained. A new scene starts with the wind howling and thunder rolling as fairy-kind and humankind alike prepare to face Inanna, who has gone mad with power and is abusing the Librarian Asterisk. The King of Musa, Seth, and 2 others are there as the original Heroes of Light. They go on about how strong Inanna has become, and the king claims that there is only one option left. Esmeralda reminds him that his sacrifice will only work temporarily, but before he can do it, Seth asks if he can try one last thing. The others urge him not to approach her, but the king indulges him, wishing his good friend luck. Seth approaches Inanna, now spewing darkness in all directions. He tries to get her to remember, but the Nexus rejects him. Before he can reach her, the hands are summoned and collapse themselves around him, and the memory ends with glitches and static. The scene cuts back to modern day, with Inanna now holding the closed book. She asks if Seth, or the player rather, is satisfied with the truth, knowing that he couldn't stop her before, and that he can't stop her now. Seth responds by agreeing, saying that he was unable to stop Inanna from becoming the thing standing before him. He then turns to the Nexus and protests that he won't fail again, vowing to defend Gloria until the bitter end. Gloria stands with him, protesting against the Nexus. She states that perhaps once, the person standing against them was part of Musan royalty, but now all that remained was a hollow shell impersonating her ancestor. She disavows the Nexus as little more than a shade, a facade, and an insult to the Musan name, a stain that she will remove. Adele joins in, declaring that the Nexus's desires have caused far too much harm to have any kind of good behind them. The lives it has taken, the people it has hurt, and the bonds it has broken. It all has to end, here and now. Seth then makes note of the Nexus's supposed immortality, and declares that if the Nexus can cheat reality, then 2 can play at that game. The scene will end and return to combat, where the player must set the battle speed to reverse, and take any action afterwards with Seth. The previous scenes will begin to play backwards, with appropriate static and glitching, all the way to the scene where Elvis is killed. The player must then skip that scene, which will then save Elvis, who thought he was dead after having met Lady Emma. She congratulated him for doing something she never could, solving the mystery of the book, and said that she's proud of him and will always watch over him from above, so he can't let her down now. Should the player fail to skip, they will be taken to another combat instance where they can just try again, just after Elvis falls. The Nexus will be outraged by the player's actions and explode the arena, leaving the player fighting on the plateau of Musa, with lightning and fire falling from the sky around them. As the party picks themselves back up, they will hear voices cheering them on from behind, and find several figures from the conference standing by with an army at their back. Esmeralda and Lonsdale explain that at the end of the day, it's time to let the past rest and choose a better tomorrow instead. The Nexus will then attack the party, beginning the final fight against Inanna, No More. The same mechanics as the final form of the Knight's Nexus, but it can also use asterisk abilities after seeing the party use them. The onlookers, including Esmeralda, Lonsdale, Vernon, Pollux, etc., will act as an ally in the fight, like in previous chapters. Eventually, the Nexus will fall and finally, fully disappear from the world. The party celebrates, the pairings embrace one another, and all cheer as the world is finally at peace. For some extra content, With the conference a few days away, the party can travel to Wiswald and learn more about Elvis's noble background, perhaps having some other nobles in the area have their hands on asterisks that their families have been holding on to over the years, filler content before the finale, blah blah blah. As well, I'd add in a dungeon to the second upper path in Holograd, where at the end is a large automaton built by Adam for use in his now failed conquest. Give more background on Holograd and its history of annexing other nations as common, but not necessarily righteous behavior. And that is my concept for an Epilogue DLC to Bravely Default 2. What would you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, or join my Discord and we can discuss it there. If you didn't already, please hit the like and subscribe buttons, it's always greatly appreciated. And if Square's listening, I have a business email, rednovatyrant@gmail.com. If you like it, we can discuss payment. Alright, thank you for watching, have a great day, and I'll see you soon.